Former Defense Secretary Robert Gates was on with John Dickerson, and he was talking about the Russians meddling with elections. And this is what he said was Putin's objective. Here's Gates.
Look, I think this is a guy who saw the U.S. basically come out against him in his re-election campaign in 2012. He saw the U.S. being behind all of the color revolutions in Eastern Europe and in Georgia and Ukraine and so on. So his view is the West has been interfering in his politics for years. And I think that he has decided in a very strategic way to turn the tables and do everything in his power to, as we describe Russian elections as illegitimate, to try and communicate to the rest of the world that Western elections are illegitimate. And it's not just us. We know that now. It's Germany, it's France, it's a number of other countries, and it's a very broad and not very well disguised effort to create questions about the legitimacy of these Western elections. And I think, this is very KGB.
So he's trying to create, Putin is trying to create questions about the legitimacy. So are the Democrats. He's trying to create chaos and dissent. So are the Democrats. So is the media. Here's Chuck Schumer talking about Jeff Sessions' role, the Attorney General's role in the firing of James Comey.
Guards, Dad.
Hey,
Mama's boy. I bet you're gonna cry. Come on, Mama's boy. Let's see you cry, come on.
Okay, maybe that wasn't but it was close enough. Here he is for real.
I have asked the Inspector General, and the request I've made is not only to look into any interference to thwart the investigation, but whether Attorney General Sessions should have participated in the firing of Comey and should participate in FBI director. Attorney General Sessions has a much higher obligation. He didn't tell the truth about meeting with the Russians, so he recused himself. Now he seems to be violating that recusal. That would seem on its face to be part of this. And look, I called for him to step down when he didn't tell the truth about the Russians, because it's the highest law enforcement officer in the land. If the actions of the last week make all the more reason that he should not be Attorney General.
This is clownish stupidity and spreading of panic and everything with Schumer is like amped up to this hot to shrill. Everything's turned, the dial is always on shrill. What the hell does he mean Jeff Sessions shouldn't have a say in the firing of James Comey? He says, oh, well, he recused himself from the Russian investigation. Comey wasn't doing the Russian investigation. He's running the entire bureau. Sessions has got to have a say in firing. The bureau is part of the Justice Department that Sessions runs. It's nonsense. The entire thing is nonsense. That Lawrence Tribe, the Harvard lefty law guy, is saying, well, this might be obstruction of justice. There has to be a crime for there to be obstruction of justice. The FBI investigation into the Russian collusion is not an investigation into a crime. It's an intelligence investigation. There's no crime. It's not a federal crime for Putin to mess around with us. He can do, that's what he does. It's like there is no crime alleged. So there's no special prosecutor. You don't need a special prosecutor. So of course, who's the hero? Who all eyes in such a crisis, because we all see what a horrible crisis the press, Putin, the press, and the Democrats are trying to sell us. Who's really in collusion here? Who is in collusion? So Putin, the press, and the Democrats are all trying to tell us it's a crisis. But who's the hero? Who's going to save the day? Well, Fareed Zakaria. Who else has the answer for us?
Donald Trump, in much of his rhetoric and many of his actions, poses a danger to American democracy. There is just one real check on the president: impeachment. And it is political, not legal. Since Trump's own party controls both chambers of Congress, there has been little resistance to him there. So far, it appears that the Republican Party is losing any resemblance to a traditional Western political party, instead simply turning into something more commonly found in the developing world, a platform to support the ego, appetites, and interests of one man and his family. There are only two forces left that can place some constraints on Donald Trump: the courts and the media, and he has relentlessly attacked both. Every time a court has ruled against one of his executive orders, the president has ridiculed the decision or demeaned the judges involved. That leaves the media. Trump has gone at them, at us, like no president before, smearing news organizations, attacking individual journalists, and threatening to strip legal protections guaranteed to a free press.
What a shock. The media is the hero. The media, it's Fareed Zakaria is the hero of Fareed Zakaria. It's like David Copperfield. Am I to be the hero of my own life? Fareed Zakaria is the hero of his own life. You know what they need at CNN? They need ejector seats that the audience can operate. You know, it would just be, you know, Donald Trump poses a danger to democracy. Hey, whoa, he went far that time. And here's the New York Times. I mean, this is everywhere. Everybody, I would play Keith Olbermann, except the entire media has turned into Keith Olbermann. I don't have to. New York Times, which used to be a newspaper, GOP senators pulling away from Trump have a lot less fear of him. I could see how fearful the Republican senators. Republican senators are lucky they're just not walking in. You know, there's somebody to take them out of a corner. They need an aide whenever they walk into the corner to tell them how to get out of it. Senate Republicans, increasingly unnerved by President Trump's volatility and unpopularity, are starting to show signs of breaking away from him as they try to forge a more traditional Republican agenda. So it says several Republicans have openly questioned Mr. Trump's decision to fire the FBI director, James Comey, and even lawmakers who supported the move have complained privately that it was poorly timed and disruptive to their work. Many were dismayed when Mr. Trump seemed to threaten Mr. Comey. This thing about threaten, because this was on the Daily Wire too, and I really object to this. What Trump said was James Comey, this is a tweet, James Comey better hope that there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. That's not a threat. I don't see where that's a threat. What he was saying was, first of all, I thought it was a joke. I thought what he was saying was, you know, I know the truth and he better not lie about it. But I mean, come on. You know, we got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube, which means you're going to miss Michael Knowles and how he trolled Cuba. Unless you come over to thedailywire.com, if you subscribe, you can just watch the whole thing. You don't have to get bounced around like this, and you can be part of the mailbag, which is coming on Wednesday.